It's time for another episode of The Oil Stream with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola, presented by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Friday episode of The Oil Stream with Nielsen and Gazzola. As always, brought to you by our friends at Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. We're going to actually catch up with Kyle Furby next week. He's going to join us to reveal the new menu item, which is going to be delicious. So we'll have that for you. Check them out. 12 locations, 7 of them right here in Edmonton. DoorDash, Skip the Dishes, Uber Eats if you're still lazy. But you can go out to a location now and pick up the Popeye's chicken sandwich. Tommy, what's up, buddy?
Not much. The heat is on in our fair city and just trying to enjoy it as much as possible. Busy Friday, though, but this is great. This is a good time. It feels nice. Things are opening up again. Just happy to be here, pal.
My perfect zone's 21 degrees to 24 degrees. Like I went into work today, it was 18, and I thought to myself, man, it's beautiful right now. Like, let's just leave it right here. Where I know you don't mind going down to Arizona in the summer and stuff. Like, are you excited for 35 to 37, or is that too much even for you?
No, I love it. I love the heat. I'll never complain about heat. I'll always bicker about the cold. And so, listen, you're going to have to be careful, like older people, kids, stuff like that, pets, drink your water, stay in shade. Like, that's very real. But I love the heat. So I'm looking forward to it. But it does come with some dilemmas, if you will. But yeah, bring it on. I love not wearing anything but like short shorts and just ripping around to whatever I got to do.
Wait, like how short of shorts are you wearing here, buddy? Like tennis shorts? Like tight tennis shorts?
Not like flamboyant short shorts. I can't do that. But
like you don't have a ball hanging out.
No. Just like, a few inches above the knee. Like,
that's better.
Not just above the knee, but a few inches. Get the thigh showing a little bit, but not like too much. Anyway, I think I've said too much.
Not like sprinter shorts.
No, I can't do that. No,
that's what I imagined right away, and I thought that's weird. That's weird in the summer. If you're watching,
that is weird.
Yeah, if you're watching the live stream, subscribe to the podcast. Just search The Oil Stream on all your podcasting platforms. Not a lot of off-season Oilers content out there, so we're going to provide you with a couple episodes every week. I got to do another lineup here maybe this weekend to show the no-bio lineup and see how that goes over.
Sure. I'm sure it'll blow up for all the wrong reasons, and people will talk about it, and then it's going to make it to the message boards, and then other blogs and other podcasts will talk about what we talked about, and then it'll all circle back, and my dad will hear it from one of his buddies, and then he'll text me saying, "What did you say?" And I'll say, "Wow, thanks for watching or listening. You really love what I do and are very proud of me." Then I'll cry at the end of the day, and we just go through this whole vicious cycle over and over and over again when you start it by doing these lineups.
Buddy, do you need me to talk to your dad about something, or is everything okay? Like,
he'd probably prefer talking to you, actually. He'd probably be like, "Well, Dustin called me. He's a great guy."
That's good. All right. A couple of things to get to. I have got a Ken Morrison Remax question of the day we'll get to a little bit later on. Montreal Canadiens, of all teams, going to – and look, they had a great start. Then they had to deal with some injuries. They've added a guy like Caulfield. They brought in Stahl. Carey Price has been absolutely lights out. That top four in the blue line has paid off for Bergevin. There's a lot of good things here, Tommy. But watching the Montreal Canadiens, and I had a lot of people text in today and said, this is the worst thing that could happen. Now the Oilers are even further away from winning the Cup because they don't have anything close to this type of team. But if you, like, watching the Habs right now, if you could take one thing, I'm not talking like take Caulfield and put him on the right side. We'll get to that in a second. But, like, if you could take one thing, an aspect of this Habs team that you think the Oilers could maybe, from a building perspective, learn something from, what do you think that would be?
Maybe having their identity and learning how to play within their means and what they're able to do. And that's what Montreal has done very well. Like, they know their limits in terms of what the offense can provide. They know they have a stud between the pipes that can save the day for them, and has, quite frankly. And then they know they have really strong, big, mean defensemen, and they play to their strengths. Like, they've identified the keys to success for them, and They've taken the ball and run with it, but they figured that element out, it seems like. So to me, if the Oilers could figure that out, I know they don't have the depth and all that stuff, but the Oilers have really good elements to their team. If they could figure out how to maximize them on a consistent basis, then they could go on a magical run like the Montreal Canadiens. And Dusty, don't get me wrong, this is great to see, but Montreal has caught lightning in a bottle here.
Yeah.
And we talked about it on Wednesday. It was like, well, should Ken Holland have gone back and really gone for it? The Oilers, I think, are still a better team than the Montreal Canadiens on paper. Honestly, depth or no depth up front, I truly do believe that they have more high-impact players and are generally a better team. Like, this says nothing about what the Oilers weren't able to accomplish this year. This is Montreal catching lightning in a bottle, and it's been a hell of a ride. Let's see if they can take it all the way to the big silver trophy.
And they very well might. I don't think that would surprise many people if the Habs go on to win the Stanley Cup. Like, it's just the way it's been going. You're right. They've got lightning in a bottle. They got a couple of breaks along the way. It's helped the team build confidence. All of a sudden, Caulfield looks like an absolute star and is going to be one for a long time. And you got Carey Price that's been absolutely terrific. I look at, like, Mike Smith was very good for the Oilers this year. I thought he was really good. The one thing that I would take away would be you can go a long way here with a really good top four on the blue line. And that's something that, I mean, as of right now, buddy, you could really say the Oilers have one top four D-man under contract because Barry's not under contract. Larson's not under contract. There's nobody on the left side behind Nurse you put in there. And you could elevate Bear to that spot. And I'm still not sold that I'm totally comfortable with him. So right now, technically, they got one top four defenseman under contract. And I look at that Habs blue line, and even when they do mix in those other guys, it's always with one of Weber or one of Edmondson. Like, that third pair pretty much doesn't play on their own at all. And when you got a guy like Carey Price behind you, sure, that helps. But I think if you look at that team, like McDavid and Draisaitl, you're going to score goals, improve your depth. You're not going to have the four lines that you can roll like the Habs, I don't think. I don't think you'll be able to afford that when you're paying the guys at the top as much as you are. You might get some young guys who can contribute in surprise. But you should be able to build a top four that could be just as efficient as Petrie, Weber, Edmondson, and Sherrod. Don't you think that's maybe not like by the end of this offseason, but in the near future, you probably got to be able to pull that off.
Yeah, you need two solid pairs. That's a very good point, and they can rely on those guys. Solid veterans that developed and people, their management teams from their respective clubs until they got to Montreal, unlike Jeff Petrie, who the Oilers gave up on too early, helped groom and become who they are. So I think that there is a bit of an example as to how it works. Like, you get these guys after they're 25, 26 years old, 400 games in the league, and they become this steady, reliable presence. And we're witnessing that. Like, it's pretty straightforward. So don't give up on guys too soon. Like people almost did with Darnell Nurse here and Oscar Klefbom. And
First Petrie did get away.
Justin Schultz. Yeah, so
hang on to him.
Tough lessons. Yeah.
One of these guys, eventually, they hope, is Broberg. And one of the things that we've witnessed here is Cole Caulfield, who is drafted 8 spots behind Broberg, has been lights out. I mean, if Caulfield was 6 feet, he probably would have been drafted in the top 7 anyway. Like, people were a little shy because of how small he is, but he is bloody dynamic. He's terrific. So, I mean, any team from the Oilers down, I mean, 14 teams passed on him. Some of them still justifiable with some of the talent that was in that draft. But Tommy, it does drive me crazy. People are like, "Oh, Ken Holland passed on this guy for Broberg." Like, we honestly don't even know what Broberg is going to be yet. I know this wasn't a great year for him, but at the same time, I don't think he's much off the development path that a lot of us had for Broberg when they drafted him. Like, I would assume he's in North America this season playing in the American Hockey League. And when they drafted him, I said, 2 to 3 years from now, he should be in North America, either in the AHL or the NHL. And that's where we are right now.
Yeah. Let him develop, let him simmer, let him get acclimated to living and playing here, being an adult in a different continent and country, quite frankly. So, I mean, if you're looking at timelines and you're looking at Philip Broberg and you're comparing him with what Cole Caulfield's doing, I don't think that's fair either. I mean, Caulfield didn't even start the playoffs as a regular in the lineup, Dusty. So you never know. You're rolling the dice a little bit. You're expecting this guy with a high ceiling to maybe do a little bit for you. And he's taken off when he got the opportunity, 4 games in to the postseason, and confidence goes a long way. You get one, you get a couple of points here and there, you start feeling it, you get acclimated to playoff hockey, and Cole Caulfield's off and running. But the situation is a little bit different than Broberg, and Broberg's not off his path at all. I mean, he's right on it, like you said. So give the guy some time. Defensemen take time, and he's no different. So he's got a high ceiling as well, but in time, I'm sure the benefits will be paying off, and the Oilers will be reaping those rewards eventually.
Every draft in the history of drafts, hell, even some of our Nielsen show drafts probably should have simmered for a year or two, Tommy, before people actually start to jump the gun. And by a year or two, I mean 3 or 4 or 5. I honestly don't think the perfect example is right here. I mean, we're going to talk about it. 5 years ago this week, the Oilers drafted Jesse Puljujarvi and did a few other things as well. We'll get to that in a second. But they drafted Jesse Puljujarvi. Everybody wrote him off after a couple of years. Some of us held on, praying for a miracle. And now, I mean, if you look back at the guys taken right around him, you've got Laine, who struggled, scored less than Puljujarvi this year. You got Pierre-Luc Dubois, who was less impactful in the postseason than Puljujarvi was. And
totally.
That's 5 years out. And we're still, I still can't call this draft. Laine could still end up being better than JP, or JP could still, to be honest with you, I don't want to use the S word, but it's stupid to try to evaluate a draft 2 or 3 years out. It's a useless thing to do. It
is, but I mean, you got to create content somehow, right? And these are the conversations that are had. We get these texts that come in on our text line, and we see the tweets and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's still a fluctuation. You get the peaks and valleys of young players, and these guys are now 22, 23 years old. Let it play out a bit. And again, COVID has messed up a lot of stuff. I mean, 2 stunted seasons. I think it's thrown a wrench into so many plans. What are these guys that are going to be drafted this year going to look like? How are some of them even going to perform next year? Some of them didn't even play. Like Dusty, the OHL didn't play. The QMJHL was off and on. The WHL had a stunted season and didn't even finish up. Some guys went over to Europe to play pro there. It's going to create this messed up scenario, and everyone's going to feel the ramifications of it. It's silly and stupid, like you said. And COVID really, really threw a wrench into a lot of things.
Caulfield is a stud, though. I think he'd look good anywhere, and he's certainly helping the Montreal Canadiens right now. Okay, so they drafted JP, signed Lucic, traded Hall. It was a massive, massive week for the organization about 5 years ago, Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
When we look back on it now, Larson's put in some pretty good years here for this team. They're still looking at him as being part moving forward. They managed to eventually unload Lucic and kind of hampered them for a little bit. And now JP looks like he could be a top 6 winger. So when we look back on that week, how do we gauge it now? How do we look at success from that stretch of time?
Well, I mean, you got to look at the JP thing first if you want to focus on the positives and go, all right, that seems to be back on track and could be blossoming. That's a good thing. Lucic was a good signing for 1 season and a half. It was until December of 2017 where the wheels fell off for him. He went into that scoring slump. I think it was the last goal he scored was right before the Christmas break. I think it was the 23rd against the Habs. And then when the team came back, he was snake bit and bad. Couldn't handle a puck, and it was all downhill from there. And so that scenario got ugly quickly. And then the Hall trade, man, I don't know. There's interest in him, obviously. We'll see where he winds up. And that there's a percentage out there where that could come full circle potentially. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens. I feel like this is going to be a really bizarre, crazy offseason for a lot of teams. 5 years ago, I remember going to the at the office, the old Oilers office, getting the call saying, hey, the team's traded Hall. You need to get to the rink for this press conference. And I'm looking at my boss. I'm like, for what? And we kind of knew something was up and that Taylor might be gone, because he even we had the farewell Rexall place, and the drinks were flowing that night, and he kind of hinted at some things. So we kind of figured that might happen. But the way it went down was just nuts. And I remember just ripping over to the rink and finding out it was for Larson. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? And then, of course, the PK trade as well. So that was a crazy few weeks in 2016. It really was.
I was doing a radio hit with Dave, I think, talking about the Subban Weber deal, maybe, or it was that crazy hour there,
yeah.
all that went down. Stamkos signed, they traded the two D-men, and then Hall was traded for Larson. So I was standing on the patio, the porch at my old house in Terwilliger Town when that went down. Like that was wild. 5 years ago now. And who knows what ends up happening? Who knows? All right, let's get to your Ken Morrison Remax question of the day, brought to you by Ken Morrison. You can visit his website, kenrmorrison.com. If you're buying, if you're selling, he's got you taken care of. He's been a realtor for 20 years, 10-year realtor with Remax Excellence, one of the top 100 realtors in Western Canada. So you're in good hands. You can give him a call, 780-993-4815. And once again, www.kenrmorrison.com. Tommy, here is your Ken Morrison Remax question of the day. We know the Oilers have a lot of holes to fill this offseason. Will one of those holes be filled via trade? What do you think?
100%. I think that that's going to be something that this team, the executive staff, met on the hockey side at Ken Holland's last week and over the weekend. And I think that was one of the things that came out of that, is that they want to make some good deals to pick up players and fill some holes. And listen, the shopping list is nice on the free agent side, but a lot of teams are going to be gunning for the same free agents. It's going to be interesting to see what budgets are like for teams and what money's like for teams and how competitive it is. But I think the Oilers have identified that they need to make some trades to improve the team. And that will be a route that we see them go down this offseason. And so I say 100% that is probably what's going to happen.
When we look at needs they have, obviously there's, let's just say, 2 spots on the left side. One of those could be filled by Nugent Hopkins, but whatever. There's 2 spots on the left side. There's the third line center. In some way, shape, or form, there's going to be 1 spot on the blue line that needs to be taken care of. And depending on what happens between the pipes, could be a spot between like in the crease, which it's a lot.
Yes.
Is there one of those spots that you think it would be easier to fill via trade as opposed to what we're seeing in free agency? Follow-up question.
Follow-up question to the Ken Morrison question of the day. Which would be the easiest via trade? Probably a forward, left winger, I think. That would probably be the likeliest.
I was going to say the left wing.
Because GMs are probably going to be pretty reluctant to give up on blue liners, and goalies have become a really hot commodity. They always are. And after what we witnessed this past year, even though there won't be taxi squads or anything like that, you need goaltending depth. That's very abundantly clear. So I think the forward, left wing, if you will probably be the likeliest to happen via trade.
And do you think, follow-up question number 2,
here we go,
comes as some sort of expansion, taking advantage of a team in expansion and snaking somebody that way? Like, if you could do that, you might be in a good spot here, man, because that would cost a little bit less.
Possibly. Yeah, possibly, if you can finagle that, but I don't know. Hey, speaking of this expansion team, like Ron Francis has been keeping it tight-lipped. Like, you can't get anything out of them. Like, even Friedman's not even dialed into what's going on. And our guys on the TSN side, they're like, man, it is so hard to get anything. I know a few people that work over there on the hockey side, and they are just tight-lipped, and I'll throw something at them and they'll just be like, hey, good to hear from you. And that's it. Like, I'll be like, hey, how about this? Did you hear about this? This is crazy. Huh? and they'll just be like, Tom, hope you're having a nice summer. Peace out, dude. Not taking any bait whatsoever. So
keep pushing.
Potentially.
Keep pushing, buddy.
Yeah, I'll keep digging. But it's summertime, so I kind of don't care.
Follow-up question number 4. Dude, that's kidding. I have no more questions. That's it. That's the Ken Morrison Remax question of the day. We expect there to be a trade, and when it happens, this city is gonna blow up, which is gonna be incredible.
Oh my God.
I look forward to that. That's gonna be a great time. All right, that's gonna do it for another episode here of the Oil Stream with Nielsen and Gazzola, brought to you by Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen. More details next week on Popeyes' newest menu item. Furby's gonna pop by and fill us in on that one as well. And once again, Ken Morrison, check him out, kenrmorrison.com. Tommy, you and I are hitting the links tomorrow. At Edmonton Garrison. Have you played Garrison this year?
I did. It beat me up pretty good. I think I shot a 90 a few weeks ago, but we'll see. I should be better tomorrow.
All right, buddy. Well, I will see you. I'll see you tomorrow morning, man.
Can't wait.
We'll be back with another episode of the Oil Stream next Wednesday. Once again, if you've been watching the live stream, subscribe to the podcast. If you subscribe to the podcast, leave us a nice rating, and we would appreciate that. Thank you very much.